I'm a 28-year-old man. Know that my son isn't mine, but my wife, who is 26, doesn't think that I do. How do I have this conversation with her? Hello all. I made this as short as possible. I've been married to my wife for 3 years and together for 5. Our son just turned 2 in early June, and to put it bluntly, he looks biracial. His skin is darker than I thought it would have been. He has curly hair when we most certainly don't, and his features just don't look like the standard white people, which we are. He's a beautiful boy. He just doesn't look 100% white. I asked my wife a few days after his birthday if she thought our son looked white. She said yes and asked if I was accusing her of something. I said no because I genuinely wasn't. I was just wondering. I know genetics can be weird sometimes. We talked, and I apologized, but I wasn't able to shake the feeling. So I did the shitty thing and got a test done behind my wife's back. The results came in a few days ago, and I'm not my son's dad. I feel conflicted about my son. I love him. But knowing that he isn't mine is leaving a sour taste in my mouth. My son definitely prefers me, and he's my world, but he's just not biologically mine. I don't know what to make of my feelings. I'm a mix of emotions about my wife. I don't know how to talk to her. I'm angry, confused, and feeling very, very betrayed. I'm heartbroken too. I still love her. She's working at the moment, and I don't want to disturb her at the office, but I feel like I'm going to explode. This is all very difficult for me to process, and I can't think of when my wife cheated. We always had each other's locations for safety purposes, and I can't think of any suspicious friends that she has or had. We go on regular dates, and our bedroom isn't dead. We were also trying for a baby around that time, so I don't know when she cheated on me or why. Ever since we were married, she's been over the moon, constantly showing off her ring and talking about me. She's like a teenager in love. How do I tell her that I know or get that ball rolling? I don't know what I want to do yet, as stupid as that sounds. I've been stewing on it for a few days, but I still love her so much. Maybe someone can knock some sense into me. I need help. One commenter suggested placing the results of the test in front of her and saying, "We need to have a conversation," and going from there. My wife and I talked about our son a few days after my last post. She cracked under the pressure and admitted to cheating on me without me even mentioning the DNA test I had done. All I asked was if she really thought our son looked white. I mean it when I say that if our son hadn't gotten darker, I wouldn't have known. She cried a lot, begged for forgiveness, and insisted that we could still be a happy family. But my image of her shattered right then and there. I'm going through heartbreak, so forgive any mistakes. I'm currently living with my parents. I asked her when she even found the time to cheat on me, and she told me that she would leave her phone at home with the location on and use another. She claimed that cheating was a mistake and an accident. But how could it be a mistake if she had it all so planned out? We were trying for a baby around that time, and she told me that she couldn't handle the pressure and just wanted to escape. She didn't escape very well if she still got pregnant and acted like everything was perfect. Thank you again to everyone. My wife will now be known as my ex-wife. I apologize to anyone who had hope and thought it was a baby switch at birth situation. I'm somewhat happy it wasn't because that would have been terrible, but extremely disappointed because this means he really isn't mine. There won't be any more DNA tests because she admitted to everything and showed me some text messages. There won't be any more updates from me either because I just want to move on with my life, get everything sorted out, and figure out the whole custody situation. What do you think of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. I'm leaving because my boyfriend asked me for a prenup. We've been together for about 2 years, and everything was going well. We love each other. When we started discussing marriage, he said he wouldn't marry me without a prenup. We went through the details, and I didn't like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property and savings. After marriage, He wants me to move into one of his parents' houses. I told him I was uncomfortable building a life and family in a house I don't own, but he didn't understand. I suggested we rent a place together or live temporarily in one of his parents' houses while we look for a property together, but he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents own, and he already has, and he wouldn't buy new property or sell any of his current properties to buy one with me. He said if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of these properties and investing in one myself. But the problem is he'd be entitled to half of it if we divorced, since the purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents' rent if I feel I don't belong in their property, or buy half of the house we live in from his parents. The issue is, I don't like the houses that he or his parents own. They are also full of stuff, and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses and choose where I live with my partner. I've made this clear to him repeatedly, but he won't budge. He earns more than I do, and has more assets for sure. He made it clear that he was afraid I was a gold digger and wants to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I understand. The whole situation has made me feel very strange. This topic has come up before, and it always made me feel very small. It feels like all he cares about is his assets, and that he wants me as long as I fit into the life he has already built, rather than building a life with me. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He also told me that whatever money he earns now, he will spend, so he won't be investing in much anymore. He expects our earnings and savings after marriage to be split, which feels off to me. I'm sure this is normal for some people, and others might be happy to be with someone who is well off, but it's not for me. I want someone beside me, building a life with me, not someone who has already built a life with his parents, and wants me only if I fit into his life. So I'm leaving him to protect my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. He mentioned the prenup very early on, and I kept asking him about the details, but he kept it vague and assured me we'd work it out when the time came. I never asked him about his assets, and I never actually knew how much his family had. Only what I gathered from his offhand comments about certain assets. I initiated these conversations, and when he said he wanted to live with me and work towards marriage, I figured it was time to push him to discuss it. It took me a long time to get this information out of him. I guess I did wait 2 years, but marriage talks seemed like the right time to bring it up. This is a bit of a rant, and I know I'm missing parts, but I'll try to cover the important bits before I start. Here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career, and though I don't earn as much as him, I'm very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to save and invest. Many have suggested I should take the free rent, believing it would somehow advance me in life. But for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Sure, saving $2,000 a month would be nice, but most people pay rent, and I'm no exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents, but autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how the situation could improve later, after I've already moved in. I could counter the prenup and ensure that all my accumulated assets stay mine, or add a clause that I'd be compensated for any children we have, or that I'd get alimony, or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the vibe that I'd be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what is his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it opens up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I have a say in how we spend that money? I know these things can be worked out, but that's not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. It's already been so heartbreaking for me. I don't want to go through more. Anyway, yada yada yada. I just say that it feels like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostage. On to the updates. I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him. But our financial values and preferred married lifestyle just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation, to be honest. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one-and-done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so of course, during this time, many of them got involved. Not super relevant to the updates, but I talked with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house, we'd have food, chat, watch TV. Sometimes I'd go to parties they host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents were shocked when I told them why I was leaving. I'm gonna point the rest. His parents really want grandbabies. However, my ex's younger brother and sister-in-law do not want kids. They were so happy when I came into their lives and found out I wanted kids. His parents had created their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of their relationship. His mom was shocked at what he was offering me, saying these aren't the values he was raised with. She'd been effectively retired for almost 15 years, and she said my ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable because of the difference in earning potential. They told me that they've built their assets for themselves and their children. They said that includes whoever their children decided to share their lives with. They have many properties, but they also have enough investments that they can live off those. They told me their plan was to sign over a house of our choosing as a wedding gift, or sell a house and give us cash so we could buy a house we both wanted. As they got older, they planned to evenly divide their properties between my ex and his brother, since they wouldn't want to manage properties anymore and live off investments. My ex's mom said she would have made sure my name was on my ex's portion, especially since we wanted kids. They mentioned investments would go directly into funds for grandkids after their passing. Maybe this is what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set, but it seems a bit morbid. My ex's mom told me that the mother of her grandbabies would be taken care of and that she wanted us to be on equal footing while raising a family. To be honest, this conversation was kind of like a weight off my chest. I always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup talks left me confused and hurt. What they said fit with what I knew from my ex, and then, before I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life. I talked to my ex again. I'll bullet point this too. Basically, he told me his dad joked before about how he hoped he and his brother wouldn't find gold diggers, and that's where that comment came from. He felt a responsibility to protect his parents' assets since he didn't feel entitled to them. So by extension, I wasn't entitled either. In his culture, sons carry on the family line, so he felt he had to keep his assets in the family line, which I'm not a part of, but any sons we had would be. Most of the assets he's worried about are under his parents' name. He had never asked for their opinion on what to do. He just did what he thought he should. He also said he isn't that well off, and that his assets shouldn't come between us. This is still confusing to me. Isn't this whole thing because he was well off and wanted to hold on to what he had and not create a shared lifestyle? I think maybe he meant he didn't own much and most things were actually under his parents' name. He felt he was punching above his weight with me and was scared I would leave him. He was afraid I was with him because of his finances, since that was the only thing he had more of. Whereas he said, I'm intelligent, hardworking, beautiful, blah blah. He was scared about moving forward with a relationship. But instead of communicating, he became defensive. To me, it seems like he said and did things because he was feeling deeply insecure. He had made a couple of passing comments before about me being more beautiful than him or how I'm more hardworking, etc. But I always took them as compliments, not self-depreciating comments about himself. He's such a caring, funny, and intelligent person, just in a different way than me. Also, I know he's not as confident as he comes across, but I had no idea his insecurities ran this deep. He also apologized repeatedly for making me feel like an outsider to him and his parents, and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fear got the best of him, and he didn't handle it well. He took advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart because I think all of this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance before many times, where he would feel some sort of way and then act out as he processed it. Until now, I always stayed through it, and we moved on, but it's never gone on for so long. I guess the issues we faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counseling, and we've attended couples counseling together, but I can't force him to sit and identify his emotions or use the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time, and he had so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying and simply listen to me. But he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids. We could buy a house together or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together. This was completely opposite to everything he had been saying. How unsettling is that? He seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said, and was okay with placing me in a very unequal position in the relationship, despite me continuously trying to articulate what I wanted and how he was making me feel. He didn't even consider my side over months. I know I have a good deal with what his parents are offering, and I know he and I get along super well, but I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mom with us during every argument or life decision we make. Looking back, I can count on one hand the times we've run into issues, and he was able to address them without acting up. He's such an amazing person, but not always as mature as he can be. I don't feel like I'm getting his best self, and we're not where we need to be. My mom told me I have to protect my peace, and she's not wrong. I've got a lot of things to focus on right now, and all this has done is add confusion, insecurity, and sadness to my life. We decided to break up.